If you clicked on this video, you probably expected me to talk about Social Security's funding shortfall in 2033. And while that is important, the tipping point that we're discussing today is actually much, much closer. And what began as a little-known tax rule targeting only the wealthiest retirees 40 years ago now quietly hits the average retiree with an average Social Security benefit and an average retirement account. And despite new tax relief for seniors in 2025, this year, we'll see more people affected by this tax than ever before. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Ben. I've been a financial advisor for almost 20 years, and I want to make your retirement even better. So in today's video, we're going to cover the history of this rule and where I think things went wrong, how the average Social Security recipient with an average retirement portfolio can now trigger taxation originally designed to target only the wealthiest retirees, and why the difference between a permanent and a temporary tax could make this tipping point even more painful in the near future. And stick around until the very end. I'll show you why average is the new wealthy, but that doesn't take away our number one advantage when it comes to taxes in retirement and what that means for your retirement plan. So let's rewind the clock all the way back to 1983. Season 1 of Reading Rainbow was premiering on television, and it was butterflies in the sky for everybody except the top 10% of wealthiest retirees. Because that year, for the first time in Social Security's 45-year history, Congress decided that those benefits needed to be taxed. So here's what they did. They introduced the first taxation tier. So if your combined income, that's your adjusted gross income, plus any non-taxable interest, plus half of your Social Security benefits, if that was over $25,000 for a single filer or $32,000 for a married filing jointly, then up to 50% of your Social Security benefits could be taxable. Now again, at that time, that represented only the top 10% of wealthiest retirees. Now, it's hard to believe, but back in 1983, if you were earning $30,000 a year in retirement, that was a princely sum and it put you in the top 10% wealthiest retirees. Now, fast forward to 1993, it was Frasier in its first season on television, and it was tossed salads and scrambled eggs for everybody except, you guessed it, wealthy retirees, because Congress added a second tier to their tax. They didn't replace the 1983 rule, they kept that in place, but they added a new tier. Now, if your combined income crossed $34,000 for single or $44,000 for married filing jointly, then now up to 85% of your Social Security benefits could be taxable. Both sets of thresholds, both 83 and 93, they've been frozen in place ever since. Not adjusted for inflation, not modernized, just frozen in time exactly where they were when LeVar Burton was telling us to take a look. It's in a book. Now, back in 1983, these thresholds were designed to hit only the top 10% of wealthy retirees. Of course, decades of inflation, they've really moved the goalposts over time. Average is the new wealthy, at least according to the IRS. I'll explain with some numbers. So in 2025, the average Social Security benefit for an individual, one person, retiring at full retirement age is just over $2,000 per month, about $2,006 per month. We're going to call that just under $24,100 per year. Important little sidebar here, 2025 is also the first year that someone could receive over $5,000 per month in their Social Security benefits. Of course, that's not average. It's a bit of an outlier. That is the maximum payout possible, and that would be earned by someone who had the highest possible taxable earnings for 35 years, and they delayed their claiming all the way until 70. I point this out to say that, the issue that I'm focused on here, it could become significantly worse if you're a higher than average earner, if your wage history is higher than average, or if you're a higher than average saver and your retirement portfolio is higher than average. We're going to talk about what some of those averages are. Now, the average retirement account balance per household for people in their mid-60s is about $600,000 according to Fidelity. Now, this number in particular is debated, and averages can be skewed by large balances, and median would probably be a more accurate representation of the number here, but since we're using average for our Social Security benefits, we should probably stick with average for retirement account balance, just so we have an apples to apples kind of a situation here. So if we had a $600,000 retirement portfolio and we're using a pretty conservative 4% withdrawal rate, that produces about $24,000 a year in portfolio withdrawals. Again, we're trying to arrive at what an average retiree looks like, average income, average balances. And that's why we're at this tipping point for taxpayers. For a single filer, for example, I'll show you what the math looks like. For Social Security, your average recipient is getting about $24,100 per year. It's about $2,000 a month. $600,000 portfolio at a 4% withdrawal rate, $24,000 a year, $2,000 a month, again in withdrawals. Our formula calls for half of our Social Security benefits. That's $12,050. So if we add that together, their portfolio withdrawals plus half of their Social Security, we get a combined income of a little over $36,000. That puts a single filer just over that $34,000 threshold. which means they're now in the zone where up to 85% of their Social Security can be taxed. Now, there is good news. Fortunately, with the large standard deduction and the new 2025 senior bonus deduction, this taxpayer is going to pay very little in federal income tax. Nothing devastating. But of course, remember that this tax was only supposed to affect the wealthiest retirees, the wealthiest top 10% of all retirees, which is why I'm calling this a tipping point. It's starting to affect very average retirees, average benefits, average portfolio sizes. So things are a little bit different for married filing jointly, but of course, we're seeing a similar theme. About $3,000 a month in combined benefit is average. So $37,000 a year for your average household benefit. Same household size portfolio, $600,000 at 4% gets us $24,000 of distributions. The formula calls for half of their Social Security. That's going to be $18,500. Add it all up, we get $42,500. And that's just under the $44,000 threshold, meaning an average couple is just right on the edge. Any above average factor is going to push them over. Of course, again, not a huge tax bill, but should an average retiree be subjected to taxes meant for just the wealthiest retirees amongst us? And the kicker here is we're very close, right? At a 3% inflation rate, this average married couple in this example, they would exceed the $44,000 threshold in just 2 years. Again, that $44,000 doesn't move, right? It's frozen in time back from 1983 and 1993. Now, here's an important distinction. These thresholds don't work like a cliff. They represent something more resembling a ramp. So crossing $34,000 for a single filer or $44,000 for a married couple, that doesn't instantly make 85% of your benefits taxable. It gradually phases in. But once your provisional income gets high enough, that ramp is going to top out, and you're going to be effectively locked into that 85% taxability for the entirety of your retirement. So for most retirees, that lock-in point is right around $60,000 for single filers and about $80,000 for married couples. And here's the important part. Unless you expect either your Social Security or your portfolio withdrawals to shrink dramatically once you've crossed into that zone of taxability, it's very likely you're going to stay there, like I said, for the entirety of your retirement, which is why I'm calling 2025 this tipping point for Social Security, because even just average couples are going to be pushed into higher taxation unless something really changes. So if you want to talk taxes with a pro and find out how these rules might apply to you, click the link in the description and you can book some time on my calendar. Now, in addition to everything that I just shared, some of the new tax rules in 2025 make things even more interesting. So right now we have two big deductions working in our favor as retirees. We have a supersized standard deduction, and that was made permanent by the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. I'll talk about what finger quotes around permanent means here in a moment. And we also have the bonus senior deduction. And this was added by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, giving an extra $6,000 deduction if you're 65 or older, and then we double that for $12,000 for married couples. Now, the bonus senior deduction has an income phase out, and it is temporary. We're going to talk about permanent versus temporary here in a moment. But that starts phasing out when your modified adjusted gross income exceeds $75,000 for single or $150,000 if you're married filing jointly. And then it fully phases out, right? It's totally gone when your modified adjusted gross income hits $175,000 for single or $250,000 married filing jointly. Not average. In that case, you're much, much above average. Now, this additional senior bonus deduction is going to be available to you if you meet the age requirements, whether you file standard deduction or you itemize. All right, now that we've got that reasonably clear, let's clear up the difference between permanent and temporary. So the supersized standard deduction, that is considered permanent in tax code language. But of course, in Washington, permanent simply means it doesn't have a built-in expiration date. It can still be changed or repealed at any time, and these rules change often. Now, the bonus senior deduction is temporary, currently set to expire after 2028, but temporary does not necessarily mean it's going away. In fact, in politics, temporary often means until we decide to make it permanent, and then it becomes this political football that goes back and forth. In fact, some of the items in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act made the temporary items from the Tax Cut and Jobs Act permanent. And they will remain permanent, of course, until somebody decides to change them. So in the real world, permanent is not forever, and temporary is often not temporary. In fact, all rules are written in pencil, not in ink. Also, because of new tax legislation, many retirees are going to assume that Social Security will be completely tax-free because that's what they heard in a political campaign or that's what they read on Facebook. Or more recently, it's because that's what they heard in an email directly from the Social Security Administration. Granted, in that case, it was probably more heavily implied than stated outright. But the truth is, if you are average or above average in either benefit size or in retirement savings size, some level of taxation of your Social Security benefits is almost completely inevitable. but you don't have to totally avoid taxation on your Social Security completely in order to win the retirement tax game. The goal really is to keep your lifetime tax rate as low as possible, not just each year's individual tax bill. If you're above average in savings or benefit, I think it's time to accept that some taxation is inevitable, but focus on avoiding unnecessary taxation. We want to pay what we owe, but no gratuity. Now, even in circumstances where we're slightly above average when compared to our peers, and we're being hit by a 40-year-old rule designed with someone completely different in mind, we still don't lose our power to plan. In fact, we still keep our number one advantage over the IRS, and that's this. The IRS only looks at each tax year individually, January 1st to December 31st. And once we're retired, we have infinitely more flexibility, and we get to think multiple decades at a time and choose how much income we take from our investments and when. And that allows us to create the most tax advantageous situation that we can get away with. We're only limited by our curiosity. And if you want a retirement tax plan designed to pay what you owe but no gratuity, go ahead and click the link in the description and book some time on my calendar and we'll get started. So that's what I got prepared for you this week. I hope this video helped to make your retirement even better. If it did, give the video a like and we will see you on the next one.